Why do you say
It is
so?
very laughable. And I say so because Ghanaians are wide awake. The days when Dr. Bawumia could get away with his lectures, as we saw in opposition, at which he peddled obvious untruths, lies, textbook economic theories that had no practical basis to hoodwink the people of this country for their votes are long gone. That is the bad news I have for Bawumia. He got away with it in 2016. He got away in 2020. But I'm here to tell them that they will not be third time lucky in 2024 because Bawumia has been unmasked. That whole propaganda that he was the economic messiah Ghana needed and that he had a magic wand to solve the problems of this country has been exposed. That lie has been exposed. And all the things he said in 2012, in 2016, the promises he gave, the economic theories he propounded, have all turned out to be lies. And so today, the people of this country have no confidence or trust in Bawumia. That is the biggest challenge Bawumia, his advisors, his spokespersons, the MPP are faced with today. They are faced with the challenge of defending and marketing a presidential candidate who has proven time and again to be a habitual and a chronic liar, an unrepentant liar, a man bereft of credibility. Look, it was this Bawumia, the same Bawumia, who in the run-up to the 2016 elections told us that we don't have to borrow for rose, and that he has worked at the Bank of Ghana before. He knows that the money is here. You remember that statement? And that all Ghana needed to do was to tow the roads, and that we could raise enough money to build all the roads in this country. Have we soon forgotten? Have we soon forgotten? We gave him the opportunity. What is the reality today? He has supervised the most reckless borrowing we have ever seen in the history of this country. This government has borrowed more than all governments from Nkrumah to John Mahama put together, increasing our public debt from 120 billion as of 2016 December to over 600 billion as of December 2022, which led to the country defaulting on its debt obligations for the first time in 40 years. Today, Ghana is a bankrupt country. Today, Ghana's economy is a junk economy because we have a liar at the helm of affairs of the economic management team who told us that we don't have to borrow for rose, but has borrowed so much and plunged this country into a ditch. Was it not the same Bawumia who in 2016 told us that vote for us and that in only 18 months of an Akufo-Addo Bawumia government, no community in Ghana will have a water or a toilet problem? Have we forgotten? Have we forgotten? These were not manifesto promises where you will say that, oh, they fulfill some and could not fulfill others. These were not even found in the MPP's manifesto. But this man, this flip-flopper, concocted and fabricated these obvious lies for the sole purpose of winning votes. Today, have we solved the water problems in Ghana? He's in his 8th year. Have we solved all the toilet problem in Ghana? The words of a liar. You believe him at your own peril. Was it not this old man, this same flip-flopper Bawumia, who told us that John Mahama had imposed so many taxes on us, and that the taxes were hurting the economy, and that John Mahama is incompetent? He doesn't know that we are in a global economy, and that when you impose taxes like that, you plunge the country into a cyclical downward spiral. And that when they come, they will reduce taxes. They will move us from taxation to what? Production. Today, what are we producing? Where is the production? Where is the movement from taxation to production? He has slapped over 40 taxes on Ghanaians as chairman of the economic management team. And they still have the effrontery. He still has the effrontery, the temerity to promise that he will reduce taxes. I will come to that. I will come to that.
Executive authority. So
they don't even understand what is executive authority.
He can't be held responsible for all of these taxes.
I was shocked when I heard my brother use that term. Why? They don't know the meaning of simple words. What is executive authority? Every officer who belongs, or official who belongs to the executive arm of government exercises executive authority. The ultimate executive authority is vested in the president, but he has delegated that executive authority to his vice, to his ministers. So all the members of the executive arm of government, so it is illiterate for you to sit on television and say a vice president does not exercise, he exercises what? Legislative authority. What authority was he using for his so-called digitalization programs? What authority was that? What authority was that? He said they don't even understand what they are saying. The paucity of knowledge. My brother, was it not the same Bawumia who stood at Cape Coast just this 2020 and said, "Good people of Cape Coast, I have good news for you. We are building for you an ultra-modern harbor." When at the time, not a single block had been laid anywhere for the construction of a harbor. Even his own boss, the president, when he was asked in a radio interview about this promise, denied knowledge. That should tell you how dishonest this man Bawumia we are talking about is. What am I trying to tell you? I'm trying to tell you that if the messenger lacks credibility, his message is gibberish. His message is junk. There is nothing you can do with the words of a liar. Look, was it not Bawumia who told us that John Mahama was incompetent and so the fundamentals of our economy were weak? And that if the fundamentals of your economy are weak, the exchange rate will expose you. Today, what is the state of our fundamentals? Economic fundamentals. What is the state of the exchange rate? He told us, "I have arrested the dollar and given the keys to the IGP." Today, the dollar has broke jail long time ago, and has moved from 4 cedis in 2016 to now 12 cedis 60 pesos. And this is after it hit a record high of 17 cedis by November 2022. Do you know the millions of money businessmen lost? Do you know that to date many businesses have not recovered? Do you know that? And you still have the effrontery to come and sit on television and make promises? Bawumia, who promised just this 2023 last year. In January of 2023, he promised that by the end of 2023, all SHS students will get free tablets. By May, he amended the promise and said all SHS students by the end of 2023 will get laptops which will have installed on them textbooks. He has flattered to deceive completely on this promise. Not a single tablet was distributed in this country to any SHS student. And today he can still come and promise free laptops for university students because he doesn't respect Ghanaians. These people, they don't have a modicum of respect for Ghanaians. They think we are some zombies to believe this liar, this flip-flopper again. Where are the model schools he promised to build in the 16 regions for Zongo communities? Where are the concrete roads? He said we didn't even need asphalt roads. He will give us concrete roads. This is the man we are talking about here. Alfred, even in this latest speech, Bawumia peddled so many lies that sometimes you ask yourself, won't this man repent? So
the reference you make to the laptops, this was on May 29.
Laptops. Then you will see the tablets too.
So he says government will next academic year supply all senior high schools with laptop computers with inbuilt textbooks.
This was May. And then even before that, in January, he had promised free laptops. You will see that one to Google it. You see, that is why all the scientific polls we are saying that Ghanaians don't trust Bawumia. What I'm holding here is the latest scientific poll conducted by Global Info Analytics, published in January 2024. And he said, who do you trust to fix the economy? The respondents. Only 26% said they trust Bawumia. 54% said they trust Mahama. Who do you trust to create jobs? 26% Bawumia. Mahama, 53%. He is so discredited that even in his own party, almost 40% of the leaders in his own party don't have confidence in him. Look, in his latest speech, many lies. Number one, Bawumia lied.
About what?
When he said that this day he has introduced online passport application. Look, this is the evidence. Online passport application launched to ease process. 12 December 2016. 21st December 2016. Modern Ghana. Anybody can Google it. We piloted this thing in 2014 at the Ministry of Foreign Affairs under the leadership of Anatete. The technical committee was headed by Ambassador Christian, the chief director of the ministry. By December, we launched it. This liar claims that he introduced online passport application. Fact Check Ghana has fact-checked this claim. This is Fact Check Ghana. False. Bawumia did not initiate online passport application. Look at them. Liars. Now, again, he lied. Like lawyer Martin Kpebu said, that he has fixed Dumso. How did he fix Dumso? When he has not added a single megawatt of power to our generational capacity or invested in the power sector. What all they have done is to build and accumulate debts in the power sector. Today, the indebtedness of Ghana in the power sector alone is over 23 billion. We owe the IPPs over 1.4 billion. I lie? This is MPP presidential aspirant Nana Poku. NDC deserves credit for ending Dumso.
You mean Kojo Poku?
Kojo Poku. It is here. NDC. Energy analyst. He appears on this show. Allah. Bawumia, March 2016. Mahama deserves no credit for fixing Dumso. This was an interview he had in the studios of Joy News. Kojo Yankson, your good friend, interviewed him. And he was talking about Dumso, and he was reminded that load shedding had ended on the 24th of December 2015. And that Mahama had brought in the power badges. Just like he said he would fix Dumso, he had fixed it. He said, oh, even though Mahama has fixed it, we shouldn't give him the credit. That is Bawumia. Today he's lying that he fixed Dumso. Their own majority leader, Oseche Mensa Bunso, on Kumasi Bezelo FM, few weeks ago, said Mahama fixed Dumso, but at a high cost. Haven't you seen that tape? The publications are here. He says that they have created 2.1 million jobs. The words of a liar. In February 2021, the Minister for Employment and Labor Relations told Parliament that this government from 2017 to 2020 had created 3 million jobs. This is it. Over 3 million jobs created in Akufo-Addo first term. Ignatius Balfour. Then on the 16th of September, 2022, yes, this same Minister for Employment and Labor Relations told Parliament that they have now created 5.3 million jobs. You can Google it. My Job Online published a story. 5.3 million jobs. From 3 million to 5.3. Then Bawumia on 27th April 2023, last year, on his Twitter handle, says that they have created 2.2 million jobs. We are in 2024. The figure has transmogrified again to 2.1 million jobs. Look at the way they continue to change the figures. Liars. Where did you create 2.1 million jobs, Bawumia? Today, the unemployment rate has increased from 8.4% in 2016. According to the Ghana Living Standards Survey 7 conducted in 2016 by the Ghana Statistical Service, unemployment has increased from 8.4 to almost 14%, all-time high as we speak.
That statement you attribute to Ignatius Balfour was made on the 16th of September.
Exactly.
Let me. It says government has created 5.3 million jobs since assuming office in 2017.
Yes. So how did the figure get to 2.1 million? This is the minister in charge of the labor and employment statistics.
It says data assembled by his outfit.
Bro, you because of time. Anybody can read it. Everything is there. 5.3 million jobs. I'm trying to let you know how dishonest they are. Look, I'm saying if you have created all these jobs, there should have been underemployment in Ghana today. Nobody should be unemployed in Ghana. You know why? Because by 2016, according to the Ghana Living Standards 7, Ghana Living Standards Survey 7, the total number of unemployed people in Ghana was 1,027,000. 2021 population census, total number of unemployed people 1.5 million. If you've created 5.3 million jobs, or over 3 million jobs, or 2.2 million jobs within this period, whichever figure you want to believe, because clearly they are lying, then you should have eliminated unemployment. So why has unemployment increased from 8.4 to almost 14%? What happened to NAPCO? What happened to your much-touted USTAT? All of them have turned out to be total fiascos. Then he lies again about mobile money interoperability and so on. I will deal with other lies. But let's come to the economy. You see, Bawumia is living his own wonderland. This man has lost touch with the realities of Ghanaians. And it is the same disease that spokespersons of Bawumia, like my good brother sitting in this studio with us today, are suffering from.
Why are you
lost touch? You are here in spite of the economic bankruptcy you have plunged the country into, the mess, the hardships, the suffering, the pain you have plunged Ghanaians into. You sit here and say the economy is better than it was under Mahama. Absolutely. You guys have no shame. Show me one economic index or matrix which is better today under Bawumia, chairman of the economic management team, than it was under Mahama. Show me one. In 2016, the budget deficit was 6.1%. Not the figure, the false figure Bawumia quoted at paragraph 9 of his speech. 6.1. Alfred,
and
by 20, I mean, check 2017 budget, it is there. 2016, the GDP was 215 billion. The deficit, in terms of the expenditure versus revenue, was 13.1 billion. Do the math, 6.1%. This is rebased deficit. By 2020, the deficit rose to 15.6%. Not the 10 point something percent, the false figure Bawumia put out, because they are hiding some under the guise of so-called below the line. And the IMF says they will have none of that. That is a deficit. 2021, 12%. The deficit has been in double digits in the last 3 years.
We'll talk about the growth rate, because
the growth rate.
Akbar made mention of that.
Maza, I'm coming.
Earlier.
When we're leaving office 2016, growth rate 3.6. What is the growth rate now? What's the growth rate now? Around 1.5. In 2020, 0.5. Check 2021, check 2022. How is that better than what you came to meet? Rate of inflation, 15.4%. Under Mahama, today inflation, 23%. After going up to 54% in December 2022. Because the Bank of Ghana printed 45 billion in that year alone for this government. And Bawumia says the Bank of Ghana did well, because he was the one directing them to do that thing, to breach the Bank of Ghana Act. And because of that, over 800,000 Ghanaians were pushed into poverty because of that reckless act. Unemployment was 8.4%, like I said. Today is 14%. How is that better? Food inflation, 8.7%, 2016. Today, 28.7%. How is that better? When was the last time Samira and Bawumia went to the Malata market? Which he used to cite for his economic lectures.
My husband is a whiskey.
Lending rate, 26% averagely under Mahama. Today, the interest rate over 32%. That is after it went as high as 38-40% in 2022. Today, interest rate in Ghana is the highest in the whole of Africa under Bawumia. Industry sector grew by 4.3%. 4.3% growth rate for industry sector, 2016. What is my source? Page 167 of 2024 budget statement, Appendix 1C. 4.3% growth rate industry sector. What is the growth rate for industry sector? Negative 1.2. Negative. Growth rate for manufacturing sector. John Mahama, 7.9. The so-called apostles of one district, one factory. What is the growth for manufacturing sector as we speak today? Negative 1%. Growth for construction sector, John Mahama, 8.4, 2016. The same Appendix 1C of the 2024 budget. What is the growth for the construction sector? Negative 5.0. You sit here and lie through your teeth because you have no shame that when you came, the economy was in a mess and the economy is better. Really? When we left you $250 million in the stabilization fund, which was your savior when COVID struck, when John Mahama left you $270 million set aside in the Ghana Investment Infrastructure Fund, when John Mahama left you $250 million, apart from the Ghana Infrastructure Fund, the Stabilization Fund, the Sinking Fund, $250 million to repay part of the first Eurobond Kufuor constructed $750 million because we had already paid over $300 million. That is the mark of visionary leadership. We left you Almost 1 million tons of cocoa production, 966,000 metric tons. Today, cocoa production is at a 13-year low, below 500,000. Alfred, I'm coming. So there is nothing, even if you want to compare their records as chairman of the economic management team, because John Mahama was chairman of the economic management team, his tenure ended in 2012. Let's compare. Under John Mahama, chairman of the economic management team, look, our debt to GDP, you spoke for almost 30%. Let me have my time. Debt to GDP, 48%.
The time I gave to you.
Under Bawumia, we have defaulted on our debt. We can't even pay our debts. Even the military rulers did better. And the champion it was Yentuya. Now it is Yentuya. We don't have the money. Bankrupt nation. Our credit rating was B+. Today, under Bawumia is what? CCC, junk, baller economy. You people have no shame. Growth rate, Mahama, 9.2. In fact, the highest growth rate ever in the history of Ghana was achieved when John Mahama was the head of the economic management team. A growth rate of 14.4% in 2011, the highest in the history of Ghana. And John Mahama as chairman of the economic management team.
An advisory body. So really,
the excuses again. Look, let me tell you something.
What are you taking?
They continue to say that because they don't respect the Ghanaians. Bawumia, in opposition, was projected with his approval as the brain power, economic brain power of the MPP. Akufo-Addo told us, and I'm sure you've watched that video, that the sole reason why he made Bawumia his running mate because he was an economist who he believed could stabilize the economy. When he won power, Bawumia headlined all government lectures and programs on the economy. Bawumia is the chairman of the economic management team. The finance minister is under him. The governor of the Bank of Ghana is under him. The trade minister, all of them under him. The State of the Nation address you made reference to 2018. Akufo-Addo said it. He said all my economic successes are attributable to the stellar leadership of Bawumia as head of the economic management team. His own wife, Samira Bawumia, in opposition, told us that my husband is the one driving the economic policies of government. The senior minister, Osafo Manfo, told us that they are where they are because of the hard work and leadership of Bawumia. Hypocrite like you. When it is good, it is you. When it is bad, it's Akufo-Addo. How can you approbate and reprobate? How come that Bawumia says we should give him the credit for $1 million per constituency, for one ambulance, one constituency, for digitalization and so on? And then when it comes to the economic mess, the destruction of the economy, he says, I don't know anything about that. So nobody will accept that talk and boo story. And let me come to the deceptive promises. Look.
Yes, we are ending there.
He talks about the fact that I'm coming to scrap taxes. Really? Really? Bawumia told us in opposition that e-levy will not be imposed and should not be imposed. This is the story. Momo tax will discourage digitalization, affect the poor. August 26, 2020. He made this statement on Peace FM. We voted for him, only for him to help in crafting the e-levy and impose it on Ghanaians. Look, these are the words of the Minister for Information, Kojo Ponkroma. E-levy, Bawumia instrumental in setting 100 Ghana cedis pro poor threshold. You read the story, the quotation is there. I have the video. Kojo Ponkroma is he didn't say it.
That's not true.
I have the video.
You have the video.
And I have direct quotations here. Everything is here. He said it.
That's not true.
Okay, no problem. Okay. Oh, so he didn't say it. Okay, let's go to the General Secretary of the NPP at the time who sits in cabinet, John Boadu. Bawumia is in full support of e-levy. John Boadu reveals. Even Google, Bawumia supports e-levy. Give your Boaku his own spokesperson. Mind you, online there's a story. Then this man comes to tell us that I will scrap it. Why you introduce it? You were instrumental in crafting it. Why won't you scrap it now? What happened to your promise to move us from taxation to production? Why should we believe any promise from the lips of this liar? Then he says that, I'm coming to reduce the size of government. Even as we speak. As we speak, Bawumia has 25 advisors, aides, and spokespersons. 25. I have the full list here. This man is part of it. 25. 25 vice presidents. In only 9. 25.
You have 25.
25.
No, Akbar, do you
25. I have the full list here. If he challenges me, I will mention all of them.
You have 25?
Hold on.
I see.
25. In only 9 months of 2021, according to documents the Chief of Staff submitted on expenditure for Office of Government Machinery to Parliament in only 9 months. Bawumia spent 4 million cedis, equivalent to 40 billion old cedis, on so-called emergency expenses. Bawumia, the emissions tax, the betting tax, the emission tax especially, which he says he will scrap, VAT on electricity. He was the one who proposed it to the IMF, because Bawumia led that IMF negotiation team. When the team came, they met with him. He proposed it and the IMF agreed to that. How can you turn around because you think we are some zombies and tell us that you will scrap it? Finally, on this issue of corruption, Alfred, look, Bawumia is the embodiment of corruption. In fact, he's a walking case of corruption. And it is laughable and ridiculous for anybody to think that because some people are naive, they can deceive us that the man is incorruptible. Look, with that dispute, the biggest corruption scandal in the history of this country was orchestrated by Bawumia, the PDS scandal. He was the one. You will laugh because you have no respect for Ghanaians. You will laugh because you are benefiting. What do you expect from a man who feeds from the crumbs that falls from the table of Bawumia? That is why you are laughing. Because if you are a Ghanaian struggling like all of us, and you know that because of Bawumia's reckless decision to change the requirement of a bank guarantee into an insurance guarantee from a condition precedent to a condition subsequent, and without any due diligence, gave our 20 billion asset, ECG, to a group of fraudsters in the west of Amiwu, who collected light bills from us to the tune of 1.5 billion cedis. And today they have absconded with the money. They say they will not refund the money to the state. You will not be laughing. That is the PDS scandal. And according to the IEA, we lost $2 billion as a country because of that. The stolen rice scandal, he was desperately denying. I'm putting it on record here that that corruption scandal has everything to do with Bawumia, because even according to the charge sheet, that letter the director of administrator in the office of Bawumia wrote was written on the letterhead of Bawumia, number one. It was written on his express instructions. A Muslim who steals people's rights for Ramadan donations. Today, the guy is being prosecuted, Kenneth Osei, his administrator. Yet, because Bawumia was the one behind it, he is still working in Bawumia's office.
Behind it.
What do you mean? Because presumption of regularity. If you write a letter on the letterhead of Bawumia as his director of administrator and for on his behalf to steal somebody's rights, and the man has still kept you at post.
But he said he knew nothing
so
why about it.
Why is the man still at
nothing
post?
About
you,
it.
if you use TV3's letterhead to write a letter to defraud somebody, will you still be at post? Finally, the man. Let me just conclude in 30 seconds. Let me conclude.
I need to do it quickly.
Just 30 seconds. Let me just land. Then, if you don't even come, it's fine. A vice president who a minister of state has been caught on tape, Charles Adubuai, minister of state in charge of finance, in the Galamsey economy documentary, caught on tape, directing businessmen to Bawumia to go and pay bribes to the tune of $200,000, because he says that this is a habitual bribe taker. How can you convince this man? Yes, it is on the tape. Why will Charles Adubuai get the courage to direct investors to go and pay $200,000 bribe to Bawumia if he doesn't know that Bawumia is in the habit and in the business of collecting bribes?
Well,
this man who has made his brother-in-law deputy director of NADMO, his father-in-law ambassador to Saudi Arabia, his own sister the CEO of the Northern Development Authority, under whose tenure 400 tricycles have vanished into thin air, his own brother, technical advisor to the Minister for Interior and so on. He claims he's selfless. So please, nobody should take this man serious, and indeed, nobody takes him serious.
Professor Bafo Agyemang is a former governance advisor to the United Nations, and then also one of the foremost governance voices that we have in this country. He's joining us for a quick conversation. Professor Bafo Agyemang, good morning. Thank you very much for joining us here on The Key Point. And first off, with the way this speech was presented and the details in there which we've been talking about, at least with aspects over the period, and some of the economic policies that Dr. Bawumia talks about, the reference of he being made the figurehead of the economic policy of the NPP, would you say that it will be right to, as it were, not hold him responsible for any of the economic policies because he is not the one in charge, and that he is the vice president. He described himself as a mate and the EMT as just an advisory body. Professor Bawumia.
Well, normally, as you know, vice presidents do not make the last call. The bucks always stop on the desk of a president. But in the particular case of Dr. Bawumia, as we all know, he was almost the spearhead for the government's economic policies drive. He was very prominent in articulating the policies and also pushing for certain reforms in the economy. So in that respect, I think it's going to be very difficult for many Ghanaians to believe that he wasn't part of whatever it is. Of course, if the policies had been very successful, he will have every legitimacy to claim success for himself for doing that. But we also know that in the case where we don't have much success, certainly it's going to be difficult for him to run away from it. Overall, I believe strongly that Ghanaians will use their own judgment to determine whether he must take the sins of the president. I guess he could have given all the advice that he had to. If the president doesn't take his advice, he cannot force it on the president. So it's a very, very, it's a dilemma, so to speak, for the vice president at this time.
I say, well, you see, the likes of Kpebu and many others make the point that they were expecting an acknowledgement that some economic policies had failed and some form of taking responsibility and going further to even apologize for it. Well, that didn't happen. Did that take away anything from the speech, from where you sit as a governance expert?
Yes, personally, I wish that the vice president had acknowledged certain setbacks in the economic policies of this government. After all, as I said, was a prominent voice in pushing these policies. And therefore, I think he would have shown more leadership, so to speak, if he had admitted that, look, these were policies we perceived at the time to be good, but for all kinds of reasons, there have been some setbacks. And that's the more reason why today he's wiser and therefore is going to pursue a different path. I think that would have set the tone for him to set his own path. Because certainly for 7 years, going to 8, working so closely with policies that most Ghanaians think has been failed policies, is going to be difficult for him. But you know, he's in a very tight situation. On one hand, as I said, it not be fair to blame him for all the iniquities of this government. On the other hand, because he was the public face of most of these policies, at least the first 5 years, I should say, because over the past 3 or so years, it's clear that he seemed to have walked away a bit from that frontal position on the economy, leaving things to the finance ministry and other economic advisors of the president. So I think he cleverly started walking away about 3 years ago. Whether he has succeeded in pressing Ghanaians that in fact he did walk away, or in fact he challenged certain policies, he objected to certain, especially with regard to the recent introduction of taxes that a lot of people are very upset about. If there are clear indications that in fact he was opposed to that, that would be a way for him to redeem himself from what most Ghanaians think he was part of.
I see. You talk about the taxes that Ghanaians have been complaining about. The emissions tax, the VAT on electricity, which has been suspended after Labour threatened this nationwide demonstration. The betting tax as well, there's been complaints about it. And the e-levy. He talks about abolishing all of this. In fact, this was the first time I was talking about the e-levy after they started for you.
Frankly, it's a real challenge for him and the government. In fact, I'm aware of a certain statement by the incumbent president calling on his own people, his party people, not to walk away from his achievements. In other words, he believes strongly that the success of their upcoming campaign will depend on how they're able to project the achievements of his government. But you see, a lot of people in his own government don't seem to share this kind of view, because lately some prominent members of his own party have been talking about, taking positions against certain policies, including the recent, some of the recent taxes that has been imposed. So in that respect, it's going to be difficult for the vice president. But you see, all is not lost for him. I think he has a real task, maybe a Herculean task, to convince Ghanaians that he's a different person. And that, even though he may have supported the e-levy, or perhaps he may have opposed it without telling the public, I think he has a duty to be clean on this matter with Ghanaians by simply telling us what it was, even if he was part of it. But in retrospect, he takes that as a mistake. There's nothing wrong with that. Look, we are all human beings. We all make mistakes. And governments across the world, they make policies that backfire. So for me, that would not be strange. So I think it's real test of his own integrity by coming clean to say, look, sure, at that time we thought this policy would have helped us to get our problem resolved. But now it's not a policy that we think we need to pursue. There's nothing wrong with changing course in policy direction. So it depends on how he presents it and how he is able to convince Ghanaians. So I do not underestimate the Herculean task he has in convincing Ghanaians of these things. But all the same, I think he's very articulate politician. So he must have a way of articulating these new directions to make Ghanaians believe that, yes, we have a new person, and that indeed he was made to a driver, as he said, even though vice presidents are not necessarily mates, because if the driver travels abroad, he's the one who acts substantively as a president according to the Constitution. Nonetheless, I will keep saying that the buck stops on the desk of a president. And therefore, Dr. Bawumia has a real task in convincing Ghanaians that he's going to tread a new path. And if you listen to his speech, certainly there are some very interesting reversals of some old ways of his government. And I think those are the areas that he needs to highlight and convince people. Also, another challenge I see with him is that over the years, there's a strong impression among Ghanaians that he has said so many things that didn't come to pass. And therefore, how do we believe what he's saying now? Again, you see this, why in politics? I know it's difficult for politicians to maintain a certain path all the time, to be clean all the time. But when you are still in the game, it's easier for people to go back to the records and throw at you what you have said previously. And that is going to be a challenge, not only for him, but also for his main competitor, because both have been in government, and we all know what they had indicated, whether they were when they were in the opposition or when they were in government. And that, for me, is a tragedy for Ghanaians, because now we are compelled to make a choice between two parties that traditionally has not been square with Ghanaians on many issues. So just that these are the two main choices we have. So I guess we have to choose the lesser evil in this case, unfortunately.
Well, that bit that you talk about, you made reference to the economic management team, that statement that Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia made during that speech. And I want us to play that video because of the reference that you made to it, and ask you what was said previously, the economic management team and its functions. Dr. Bawumia on that. Let's take a listen.
Gentlemen, I was thankfully appointed as chairman of the economic management team. As a subcommittee to cabinet, we do not have any decision-making powers, but I am very proud of the quality of advice we have been providing over the years to cabinet. As vice president, I was asked by the president to assist in solving some of the problems that were inhibiting the transformation of Ghana's economy. My approach was to help formalize the economy through digitalization as stated in our 2016 manifesto. This is why my office has had oversight responsibility for many of the government's digitalization projects.
So that's his verdict on the economic management team and its functions and what he has done over the period. But there's always reference made to Professor Bawumia, those 170 questions, for instance, that were asked of the late Mr. Arthur, and whether or not at that time the EMT's functions were different from what we're talking about now, because a number of the questions bordered on the direct management of the economy and the state of the economy at the time. This positions taking then and now, from the governance perspective, what do you say about that?
But what can I say? Ghanaians will say it's politics. You remember towards the last years of President Kufuor, you remember the kinds of accusations, allegations tabled against him. Do you remember? Somebody even said that he took a helicopter to the Obuasi mines and loaded the helicopter with gold bars and flew it out of the country. Somebody said it publicly on many occasions. Yet when the tables turned and this person was in parliament to testify for his own job, he said, oh, that was politics. I didn't mean it. And this is true with all the politicians we have had. When they are in opposition, they are prepared to say anything they want in order to win elections. When they are in power, they perpetrate certain lies to Ghanaians, and they find it difficult to really be level Ghanaians, I should say. So it's not something that surprises me, but for me, that is the tragedy of our politics. And that's why I said earlier that we are forced to make some choices here. Whether a new person will emerge that can capture the imagination of Ghanaians to shift their allegiances to such a force, I do not know. But as it stands now, these are the two choices we have. So if he has said something in opposition, or he has said something when he was chairman of the EMT, and now he's trying to tread a new path, the challenge always will be what you said yesterday. If Ghanaians were to hold against politicians what they've said in the past, then I'm not sure any of our politicians would be worthy of my vote and your vote. Frankly speaking, if we have to go back to see what they've said previously, and whether they are truly going to change, as they are promising Ghanaians that now I'm going to do ABCD, unlike yesterday. If they are truthful, I cannot tell, because the history of their politics do not convince me that they can. But look, this is what we have. So yes, I think for most Ghanaians, including myself, we find it difficult to maybe even believe what Dr. Bawumia have said. But as some people have said, maybe he needs his own chance to prove himself. After all, as he said, he was a driver's mate. So it's a very, as I'm talking to you, myself, I find it difficult what to say, okay? Only because our politics have not given us the kinds of leadership that will help liberate us. Look, let me tell you again. Given the condition of Ghana today, the economy, knowing that we have gone to the IMF for 17 times, knowing that we are constantly battling the macroeconomics of the country, one will expect that the new candidates can begin to project a new vision that will fundamentally change the economy of the country, moving us away from a dependent economy to an independent or interdependent economy. In other words, where we can work how to project our domestic productive capacity as a way of becoming self-sufficient in many things that we import, and also increase our export. This is the bottom line. If you want to do industrialization, as most candidates have been promising, you can't even have it when you don't have the capital to import the things that you need to do that. then you end up bringing in foreign investors. And we don't know the kinds of deals they do with them, especially in the mineral sector. Actually, I was pleased when Dr. Bawumia said yesterday that for the first time, he's going to put the contracts. He did not specify which contracts, but I assume mineral contracts and perhaps all the others in the public domain for Ghanaians to scrutinize. If he does that, it will be the first time that you and I will know what our governments are putting us in. Because contracting has been one of the main sources of corruption in this country.
Okay.
It is one of the main sources of our lack of development, and on and on. So that particular point that he made pleased me. There are so many things he said that pleased me. There are so many things that personally I didn't like. So I guess I say that at this point, Ghanaians should be able to judge the statements that our leaders make and make our decisions accordingly when it comes to the elections.
I see. But, so that I can round up in your turn.
Professor Agyemang should be fair to politicians. Politicians have names. When people display dishonesty, call them by their names and condemn them. Stop lumping all of us together. Prof, John Mahama has been running mate to Professor Mills before. John Mahama has been vice president before. Did you ever hear John Mahama saying that he was a mere mate to Professor Mills? So whatever mess happened during his tenure should be attributed to Professor Mills and that he had no decision-making power? Did you hear President Mahama make any such excuses? Did you hear President Mahama running away from responsibility? No. Anytime there was a problem, he took responsibility as leaders ought to do, and said he will fix it, and he fixed it. So please, this attitude of always lumping politicians together and all that. Don't visit the sins of Bawumia on John Mahama and other politicians like Sammy Gyamfi. We are not party to this kind of odious hypocrisy and double standards that Bawumia continues to display.
Now,
please,
I'll go for this quick break.
Don't lump us together. That is why we all have unique
I'll
names.
be back shortly after this quick break. Stay with us.
That's why we all have
this is
unique
the key
names.
point. Stay with us. We'll be back shortly after this quick break. Stay with us.
Electric national ID cards, the Ghana card, to the population. The Ghana card project was initiated by President Kufuor. So far, some 17 million people have been enrolled on the Ghana card by the NIA. I would like to note that between 2007 and 2016, only 900,000 Ghana cards were issued. With the Ghana card, the identity of the people, even dead people, can be established using their fingerprints. With the Ghana card, every Ghanaian, regardless of locations or status, whether rich or poor, now can be officially registered and recognized as a Ghanaian. Before this, it was possible for someone to be born, live, and die in Ghana without ever being registered. Identity fraud, age cheating, football age, people cheating on their retirement age, fake birth certificates, fake passports will no longer be possible with the Ghana card. What is
So that's Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia there. Let me, Kpebu, before that quick break, that statement by Professor Bawumia about politicians, this is one that you made consistently on the show about the kind of politicians that we have.
Excellent.
And what we're dealt with.
It's unique.
It's
dishonesty. He said
that, but that's a Socrates.
He's been talking about.
Yes, Socrates says
reference that you have made.
But that's the general
Let's do
rule.
Socrates. That's how come in the Republic, Socrates advocates for the philosopher king.
Okay. Because
they saying that, look, the politicians were so dishonest in Greece those days, right? So he advocates the philosopher king who have so much integrity, so much courage, so much wisdom. Okay, no illiberality. There's no unkind things like what Kufuor did by destroying Agojo. He and Godfrey Dami you see, etc., driving away Domlevo. You see, that's the illiberality, that wickedness.
Okay, let me bring in Lawyer Akbar now. So, you see, when Professor Bawumia talks about the consistency, or in fact, the inconsistency, making reference to some of the things that Dr. Bawumia says it's difficult to convince the Ghanaian people otherwise.
But before I come to what Prof said, I have some
that is something that is certainly going to be a Herculean task for you, as you made reference
before
to.
I come to that, I have some quick refutations to make. First of all, Sammy lied when he said that for the first time in 40 years, we defaulted on our loan and that it has never happened. I have with me a letter here dated February 18, 2025 from the Africa Development Bank and was addressed to Samuel D. Amir, Director, Debt Management Division, Ministry of Finance and Economic Planning. Subject, application of sanctions, arrears on bills due on 1st January 2015. And it reads.
No, so is that February 18? What's the date?
The letter is dated February 18, 2015.
Yes. Okay, earlier you said 2025, so...
Not 2015.
Okay.
And it reads, we wish to inform you that as of today, we have not received full payment in respect of bank group bills as per the attached arrears report. Therefore, and in accordance with the bank group policy on loan arrears recovery, we wish to inform you that sanctions have been imposed on 1st February 2015. We could count on your prompt action for the timely settlement of the amounts due to enable the lifting of sanctions. So in 2015, under Mahama, we defaulted on our loan obligations to Africa Development Bank. I'm not sure 2015 to now is up to 40 years. So he lied. Number two, he said Bawumia is a chronic liar and therefore lacks the credibility to be president. And I think that as somebody who is passionately advocating for Mahama, he should be the last person to use the word credibility, especially on matters bordering corruption. Mr. Mahama is the only politician I know at the highest level who is incurably corrupt and visionless. There's absolutely no doubt about that. And I will substantiate that.
Substantiate that.
In February 2009, at least according to the Federal Court report on the matter of the infamous Airbus scandal, the court established conclusively that Mr. Mahama, as early as February 2009, was in constant email conversations with officials of Airbus. Alfred, we've all read the Crown's report, the decision in France, and that of the US. And we have also listed, after a series of investigation by the special prosecutor, that it was established clearly that Mr. Mahama was the man designated as government official one. And you know how it is? It was this man who used his brother, named as intermediary 5, to receive bribes worth $8 million through a phony company registered in Spain. And that phony company took $3 million out of the money and remitted over $5 million to Mr. Mahama. It was not just a matter of the Airbus. And indeed, if we were in a democratic culture that works efficiently, Mr. Mahama should not be leading any political party into any election. This is a man whose reputation as a corrupt man is known locally and internationally. In fact, in a BBC interview, he was asked clearly, have you ever received bribes? He dilly-dallied and said and posed a counter question, whether as human being or as president. When Dr. Bawumia spoke at UPSC, he proudly declared as human being and as vice president that he is not corrupt. Indeed, civil society leaders, and I'm going to give you an example. The executive director of Media Foundation has expressed an opinion on these two key individuals in our politics. First, in the case of Mr. Mahama on the Airbus.
Are you talking about Suleiman Abrema?
Suleiman Abrema. When he was interviewed on Joy FM.
When?
After the news, the scandal broke out. He was interviewed on Joy FM.
Which scandal?
The Airbus scandal. I'm coming. So he was asked. Then he said that at the time of the scandal, the only elected official on the Armed Forces Council was Mr. John Dramani Mahama, and he was convinced that the court referred to Mr. Mahama. In the Charles Eduboahin's case, this same man expressed the view that as far as Dr. Bawumia is concerned, he is reputed as a man who is incorruptible. This is an individual expressing his views about two individuals. Alfred, for the first time in the history of our nation, that a sitting president, according to an attorney general, contemplated investigating Mr. Mahama for corruption allegations in the purchase of the Embraer jets from Brazil. It has never happened. Indeed, President Mills, according to Martin Amidu, went on to set up a 3-member committee to look into the procurement acquisition which Mr. Mahama championed. So as far as Mr. Mahama's integrity is concerned, he should not be seeking political office. As for what was said by Team Dufour in their petition to their General Secretary, out of deference for the office he once occupied and respect for, I will not read that. But when we are talking about a man who lacks credibility, Alfred, between a man who is perceived as being a liar and a man who has a reputation of being corrupt, in 2009, in the British House of Commons, an MP named John Dramani Mahama of having received bribes from the Amajaro company. You remember the Amajaro cocoa scandal? Mr. Mahama was named in the British House of Commons for having received bribes. Such is the character that Sammy is passionately defending as a man of integrity. Such is between the two individuals, I would, and Mr. Kpebu said that he kept referring to Socrates. If he has read the treatise of Sacred well and is clearly convinced by the, between the two individuals, we know the one who desires public resources. Mr. Mahama has demonstrated time and again. Before he exited office, it's public knowledge, he gave over 50% of our bauxite to his biological brother. When we came, we terminated the contract. They fought it all the way to the Supreme Court and lost.
Now,
yet you believe
Enterprise Insurance is taking business from SIC, collapsing SIC. Do you know the MD of SIC? One of the wives of Akbar.
I was quiet
and they are collapsing
when you were
SIC.
speaking.
That's the same thing. That's the same thing.
I was quiet when you were speaking.
Okay.
So on the question of who has integrity to be president, Mahama, we know him. He has been president. His record has been appalling, and he is not fit, but for the nature of our politics, to be leading a political party. The Airbus scandal brought us global shame. Up until today, Mr. Mahama is yet to refute the conclusion by the Office of the Special Prosecutor that he was the one. If you want, go and read his book, My First Coup d'Etat. The exact description he gave his brother in London was the exact description he was given in the Crown's Court judgment in the UK. That is the man he is passionately advocating for and condemning Dr. Bawumia. Secondly, on the question of Mahama leaving behind $250 million, yet again, my brother demonstrated his ignorance about the level of mess that we inherited. He's talking about $250 million. On 27th October 2017, this government issued a CD-denominated bond of 6 billion Ghana cedis to settle energy sector debt which accrued as of June 2016, owed by 5 major players in the energy sector, out of a debt portfolio of some 10 billion. If you have left $250 million and the new government had to raise $1 billion to refinance debt that you have created, you left absolutely nothing. And that was just 6 billion out of the 10 billion at that time. And this is a World Bank report. Importantly, he talked about jobs and proceeded to condemn the figure Dr. Bawumia used. And Dr. Bawumia was very clear.
So the bonds that you issued to raise 1 billion, what was the purpose of that particular bond that you issued?
To refinance the energy sector debt that they had left behind. As of June 2016.
How much was the energy sector debt?
Out of ECG.
How much was the energy sector debt when you took over?
Let me explain, Alfred. Out of the 10 billion, ECG, Gridco, Ghana Gas, thermal oil refinery and one of the energy sector players owed this amount of money, which was due. He again mentioned the fact that Dr. Bawumia lied when he said that we created 2.1 million jobs. If he's minded to read exhaustively the list provided by the then energy employment minister, it included indirect jobs. But in this presentation, we decided to focus on formal jobs in government and formal within the private. And Dr. Bawumia referenced that. So the 5 million he quoted, for example, included...
You just shifted to something. I was talking about the debt that you made specific reference to, reason why you issued the bonds to raise 1 billion. You say you were using it to refinance the energy sector debt. I was asking how much of the energy sector debt was at the time when you took over.
These companies, these 5 companies that I listed, owed 10 billion Ghana cedis plus, the equivalent of around $2.5 billion at that time. So, and government needed to refinance that. Okay, don't forget also that in 2016, Mr. Mahama has raised a Eurobond of $750 million for a 5-year period at an expensive coupon rate of 9.25%. That was due in 2018, and the NPP had to raise an additional $1 billion to refinance, to pay in 3 installments this amount that Mr. Mahama had gone to collect from the international market. So when they talk about...
Are you not going to leave us with debt? Are you not leaving with debt?
No, take your time.
So what's the point exactly?
So the point I'm making is that if you claim that you left the economy in good shape, it is total lies. Indeed, when the IMF officials came in February 2017, all right, for an Article 4 consultation and issued a statement which was signed by one Mr. Bernard, this was the conclusion of the IMF people, that the economy was in great difficulty. So when we say that we inherited a mess, we are not just saying it. Every economist and economic institution are united in the view that the economy Mr. Mahama left behind was a terrible one.
The jobs that you talked about, does that include... you said the formal sector.
Exactly. So Dr. Bawumia limited himself to formal sector jobs. And the minister,
that you have created.
Yes, and the minister in his list included what he called indirect jobs arising from interventions like planting for food and jobs.
Planting for food and jobs.
Exactly. He indicated that in his report. But we decided, as a matter of verification, because we wanted to make it easier for journalists to be able to go to SNIT and to verify these claims. Because these are people who are employed formally in the public sector and formally in the private sector and have their details with SNIT. So that's why you would see that whereas the minister mentioned...
So the planting for food and jobs created jobs?
Of course.
How many jobs?
I'm saying to you that the minister added all those things to arrive at the 5-point-something million. But
I'm asking because the current state of affairs of that particular policy...
We decided...
If it created jobs, then it means that those people...
The story he referred to is not today. So you can't ask a question on the basis of today. The story he read to you...
So I'm coming. You see, if you talk about job creation, it's not an event. Are you with me? So if you say that planting for food and jobs created jobs, and the current status of the policy is that policy is not in existence.
To make a distinction between what Dr. Bawumia referred to, and he gave you a reference that according to SNIT, and he designated the jobs as public sector jobs, private formal jobs.
And which sectors?
So that we exclude...
Well, no, which sectors have these jobs been created?
So all agencies under various ministries since 2017 have been recruiting, so the numbers are available. Because once you are employed in the public sector, you need to do your SNIT registration. So SNIT has your details because you need to make your SNIT contributions. And so he specifically referred to formal sector jobs. On the issue...
And does that include the NAPCO trainees who were given permanent employment?
On the issue of unemployment, yet again, he demonstrated complete misunderstanding when he said that unemployment rate as of today is 20%. is 14%. And then he referenced the annual household and expenditure survey conducted by the Ghana Statistical Service.
I said Ghana Living Standard Service.
And finance.
Wait.
Please, when you are speaking,
I'm coming.
quiet.
So since you are quoting him.
And finance by the World Bank.
Okay, no, Akbar.
The 13% use.
Akbar, hold on. Since you are quoting him, I think we're all listening. The Ghana Living Standard Survey is different from the specific data you are making reference to.
Yes, and this annual household
there are
expenditure survey conducted by the Ghana Statistical Service gave the unemployment rate today at 4.7%. And the records are there. Under Mahama in 2012, it was 5.9%. By the time he
so you are quoting
office,
by the time
he exited office,
data.
It was 5.5%. Under Akufo-Addo, it is 4.7%. And this is not the only institution that has done...
No, unemployment is higher today.
This is not the only institution that has done work. In fact, the World Bank, for example, has a platform that deals with unemployment data across the world. Okay? And this is what they said about Ghana's unemployment status as at 2022. And Mr. Kpebu is here, 3.9%.
But Akbar,
so you cannot say that Bawumia lied because you have a contrary figure to what he stated.
But importantly, at least let me just stay on the jobs. It's a very, very important point. So let's stay on the jobs.
On the question of Dumso.
No, let's stay on the jobs.
No,
I'll give you time to talk about the Dumso.
Right.
Because if you look at, and I don't know if you believe in these percentages you just mentioned, but if you look at, one, the unemployment that was created as a result of the number of banks that went down. That's number one. Two, as a result of the DDEP that led to a number of institutions closing down. And you have not created enough employment avenues because the finance minister himself at the same UPSA auditorium, I'm coming, at the UPSA auditorium 2 years ago said that the public payroll is full.
The fact remains that this government has created more jobs than any government in this fourth republic. Indeed, Macro Trends, which also does analysis of unemployment levels throughout the world, has a historical data on Ghana's unemployment rate. And Mr. Kpebu is here.
The national security document I've read, unemployment is higher
don't run away. Unemployment has always been an issue in this country. And no government has claimed that it has completely eradicated unemployment. No government has made that claim. And this is what they said in their historical analysis of unemployment data beginning the year 2000. When Mr. Mahama was exiting office, unemployment rate was 5.11%. As of 2022, under President Akufo-Addo, it is 3.87%.
Okay.
So on the question of jobs, again, we have done far, far better.
So between 2022 and now, you've been employing?
Absolutely.
So what did the finance minister mean by the public payroll?
We do employ.
What did the finance minister mean by
another point?
Akbar, what did the finance minister mean by the public payroll is full?
There has always been concerns about public rule. Ministers have expressed it. Opposition politicians have expressed it. In fact, Mr. Mahama in one of his interactions said that we were engaging in reckless employment of young people. They said that. So as for the concerns in respect of wage,
I'm not even talking about that.
Concerns
I made specific reference to the finance minister's
government's ability to employ. That's a fundamental point. And Alfred, you again made a very erroneous claim.
You say Dumso.
Marked as. So let me deal with Dumso. I have here with me, of course, it is true that in March 2016, Dr. Bawumia had said, okay, after the State of the Nation address by Mr. Mahama, Dr. Bawumia had said that as far as he was concerned, Mr. Mahama didn't deserve credit. But that was in March. As at August 2016, ECG issued a Dumso timetable. And the last time I was here, Alfred, I told you that between January through to February, we were experiencing Dumso. His predecessor, Fred Agbanyo, did a public statement calling on the NPP government to fix Dumso. Indeed, and this is Mr. Ofosu Ampofo. And this story is where he stated that Mahama would have ended Dumso if NDC was retained in power. That's their former national chairman. So when we say that we solved the problem of Dumso, we are justified in saying so because for 7 years we have kept the light on. Throughout the period that we suffered Dumso, one argument ran out that the problem of Dumso was a financial one. The government had so recklessly mismanaged the economy to a point that they could not raise the needed capital to power our machines to generate electricity. So the problem has always been Dumso. And so when we came, we decided as a matter of policy that energy was crucial to powering economic growth, and therefore we were going to make sure that we find money to keep our generation plans running. Okay. So as far as his claim is concerned, he actually lied.
The reality now is that the independent power producers are owed over 1.4 billion.
No,
and that's an issue.
And that
but
is
thank you. You've responded to a number of things.
The World Bank former country director described the energy sector contract that Mr. Mahama signed as unconscionable.
So why haven't you reviewed it?
So, of course, it was renegotiated. But every year, in fact,
that's the way Kufuor added 800 million.
50 billion.
Hold on. Allow him to speak.
50 billion.
Added 800 million to the Mary deal. 50 sidestepping that.
50 billion Ghana cedis have been spent in refinancing energy sector costs, financial sector costs, as well as the COVID expenditure. And all of these was done through borrowing. So as far as the record of the NPP is concerned, we maintain that notwithstanding the difficulties that we encountered between 2021 and 2022, our record as managers of the economy is superior to the NDC. And that when we say that we can do better, we actually say so on the basis of the NDC's record.
Okay, thank you, Akbar.
As for the two candidates,
so thank you. I think you've made the point.
No,
you've made the point.
I've
given you the 20 minutes actually to make the. You have responded.
But you're not following his lessons.
Thank you. You made reference to a number of things that Martin Amidu said. No, yes, Sammy Gyamfi, on that specific reference
I will deal with that.
Yes,
you see. It is very clear that our brother Akbar here is learning very well from his boss Bawumia in terms of dishonesty and peddling falsehood. Birds of the same feathers flock together indeed. He says that in February 2015, Ghana defaulted on its debt obligations to the African Development Bank. Please, when you were speaking, I didn't interject you, so allow me to speak. That is a barefaced lie, and in fact, exposes his ignorance about what sovereign debt default is. Alfred, having delays in financial transfers to meet a debt obligation, a debt service obligation,
they were not delayed.
It's not the same as debt default.
It was a default.
Can you allow me to speak?
Akbar,
can you allow me to speak?
When you were talking,
can you allow me to speak?
Was quiet.
Yes.
So I just
spoke for 20 minutes. I didn't interject once. Allow me to speak. What he's talking about in 2015 was the normal transfer delays in debt service. Even in our normal lives as individuals, sometimes when you are doing a bank transfer, it takes days before it reflects. And so because of that delay, the AFDB wrote to us raising that issue. But few days after that, that debt was paid. That debt was paid. Under President Mahama, was there any domestic debt exchange program? Do you remember?
No.
You've done this work for decades. Do you remember? No. Mr. Martin Kpebu, do you remember any domestic debt exchange under Mahama?
No.
Was there any debt restructuring? Did we tell innocent Ghanaians who have lent to government that we don't have money to pay you, and that even the coupons we have to pay you, we will give you crude haircuts? Did you see pensioners demonstrating That government has taken their money, government doesn't want to pay them. Like you saw pensioners, including a former Chief Justice, picketing at the premises of the Ministry of Finance under this government. Did you see government announce to its external creditors that we are going to default on our debt obligations? For which reason we were downgraded in terms of our credit rating to D, junk, in 2022. Until date have lost access. We have been locked out of the capital market. Where Kufuor took us to for 750 million euros. Where Atamels, John Mahama took us to for 3.5 billion euros. Today we can't go there for Euro bond because we have defaulted on our debt obligations. Nobody has confidence in us. We have become the butt of jokes in the international community. This has never happened in the last 4 decades. That is what we are talking about here. We are not talking about mere delays in servicing debt because of delays in transfers. That issue you are talking about, that money was paid after. Under President Mahama, there was no debt default. When you speak like this on television, you think you're deceiving. My brother, I have given you respect.
You read the details.
Show me the same respect. I beg you. I gave you respect. I did not interject. You show me the same respect, please. Look, if you do this, you are making a mockery of yourself. Because everybody knows that there was no either domestic debt default under Mahama or external debt default under Mahama. No debt exchange, no haircut whatsoever. So you should be ashamed of yourself. Under President Mahama, our credit rating was B-. Today, what is our credit rating? Junk and baller. Now, number 2, he says that John Mahama is corrupt. Why is John Mahama corrupt? Incurable corrupt because of Airbus. You people, you don't read. When you are learning from your boss, the liar, I mean, you should see some of the things you learn. Look, this is the Martin Amidu he was referencing. He says Martin Amidu has stated that John Mahama is liable in the Airbus scandal. If you read the entire Airbus report, no reference whatsoever was made to John Mahama. His name is not in the report. So, Ghana Web published this story. Anybody watching me to know that this guy sitting here is a liar, Google this story. Leave, quotes, Kumatos Airbus scandal alone and focus on the gargantuan corruption in your government. Martin Amidu to Akufo-Addo. Wednesday, 29th November 2023. Let me repeat the airline so that people can check. Leave Kumatos Airbus scandal alone. My brother, let me have my time. Let me have my time.
Hold on.
Let me have my time. Leave Kumatos Airbus scandal alone and focus on the gargantuan corruption in your government. Martin Amidu to Akufo-Addo. Now listen to what Martin Amidu said. Former Special Prosecutor Martin Amidu told President Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo to stop trying to revive the investigation into the Airbus Amidu started when he was in office. In a statement copied to Ghana Web, Amidu, a former Minister for Justice and Attorney General, accused the President of putting pressure on the Office of Special Prosecutor to revive the investigation into the Airbus scandal for political benefits. He told the President to focus on the corruption in his government and stop trying to revive the Airbus investigation. In fact, if you read it, my brother, will you shut up for me to talk? Don't you have any respect for yourself and viewers? Let me have my time. I keep on telling you, don't interject me. Let me have my time. I think you should call into order. Let me have my time.
Hold on.
When you were speaking, I was here.
Hold on. There's a specific reference you made to Martin Amidu, which he's making reference to.
Exactly. Let me have my time. And I don't have time at all. So, Alfred, I don't want interjections. Let me have my time.
Let us respect
he has
the viewers.
Interjected me more than 10 times. I keep on telling him not to do that in a nice way, and he continues to do that. To call him to order. Now let me make my point.
There's a specific reference to Martin Amidu. What has been published about Martin Amidu and his position on the Airbus is quite clear. You can find it as early as November. He's done so in July 2023 when he talks about that, the fact that investigations in respect to this Airbus SC, this European Multinational Aerospace Corporation, regarding the sale and purchase of military aircraft from the Republic. This is a statement from Martin Amidu. The office is engaged with Interpol and the central authorities of the UK and the United States under the Mutual Legal Assistance Regime. he states the fact that the true facts are that he, Martin Amido, made the request for mutual legal assistance through the Office of the Attorney General at the time to the central authorities of the UK and the United States of America before conducting an independent investigation, which necessitated charges and issuance of warrants. So that led to that conclusion that he made, which Sammy, you are reading.
This is dated 29th November.
And this is what I have.
Yeah.
It's
You see,
open
this is,
session.
hold on,
this is,
hold on,
you see,
hold
this,
on, hold on.
because
Alfred,
you have
no, I have.
You have had your
I have
time, so
made-
let me make, let me have
hold
my
on.
time.
The intervention
Alfred,
is done.
please, why
Yes.
you don't
Hold on,
allow
hold
me
on.
to flow?
Hold on. Go ahead.
This story is dated 29th November 2023. And Martin Amidu says this Airbus matter is in a state of comatose. He has investigated it, nothing is in there. In fact, in all the official correspondences on the scandal in the UK, John Mohammed's name is nowhere. Look, he mentioned Embraer jets that President Mills set up a committee to investigate President Mahama. Who were the members of that committee?
Let me give it to you.
Who were the members of that committee? Another lie. You people have lied over and over against Mahama.
No.
You've been in office.
That one, yeah.
You've had the opportunity to establish those lies. You have failed. Was there not Akufo-Addo, who in opposition said President Mahama had used $10 million to print presidential diaries? Was there not Akufo-Addo, who said President Mahama had inflated the cost of the Rich Hospital, the Kumasi Airport, the Cycle Dubai interchange? In opposition, didn't they say Mahama was corrupt and he's a thief? You've been in office for almost 8 years. You have not been able to adduce a scintilla of evidence to buttress any of these allegations. You've not been able to establish that Mahama is corrupt in any way. The man remains squeaky clean by now. Not even one finding of corruption against him. And because you have no shame, you can still sit on television and call him corrupt. Then that shows you are very useless. Because if President Mahama was corrupt in office, and you told Ghanaians that he was corrupt, and you were elected to come and expose that corruption and punish him, until date, you've not even been able to hold him before even one investigative body or one corruption enforcement agency or the courts. It shows how useless you are. I won't waste my time on you. Let Bawumia leave office today, and you will see how we will hold him accountable for the stinking PDS scandal he supervised, which has caused the state financial loss to the tune of $2 billion. You will see before your very eyes, your own eyes, what will happen. Again, he talks about the fact that President Mahama gave bauxite to his brother. When will you stop lying? Don't you know? Are you so illiterate that you don't know that any Ghanaian can apply for a concession? You can go to the Minerals Commission, go to the ministry and apply for a reconnaissance permit. You can go to the stage of prospecting. Don't you know that Eastern Pubic went through competitive tendering before they got even the reconnaissance survey to do that exploratory work? Don't you know that they progressed to the prospective license stage before they went to the mining stage, and they were giving licenses, mining leases? And that the only reason why the Supreme Court nullified that was because Parliament could not ratify those agreements, and not because anything untoward has been done. You took over that bauxite. Till date, what have you been able to do with it? What have you been able to do with it? So if somebody stole something, why are you not able to prosecute them? Then he said that they came to meet a certain energy sector debt, and they raised $1 billion to pay it. You see, these people must learn to read. The days where they could get away with barefaced lies are over. The internet doesn't forget. Alfred, you know this, that when we were leaving office, the energy sector was indebted to the tune of billions. And we call those debt legacy debts for a reason. Why do we call it legacy debts? Because it is debt that has accumulated over the reign or the tenure of successive governments. So we call it legacy debt in the power sector, which was crippling the banking sector. So the visionary John Mahama decided not to dabble in excuses. He took responsibility and said, I'll fix it, and introduced what is called the Energy Sector Levies Act, ESLA, and said Ghanaians should pay ESLA for a period of 5 years so that we can get money to pay that debt, so that the banking and financial sector, which was struggling as a result of that debt, could rebound. And indeed, he brought it. In opposition, they said it was a nuisance tax.
If extended
and that when they come, They will scrap it. So that energy sector debt he talks about was debt that Mahama himself also came to meet and added on, but introduced ESLA to solve. And today, ESLA has accumulated over 40 billion, which could have cleared that debt, but they have chopped the money. And so the debt is increasing. And that is why every day, every now and then, you see WAPCO threatening us, Asogli, threatening to shut down. And then we go and pay a few $1 million. Now look at the story. April 21, 2017. April 21, 2017. They had been in government for barely 4 months. Government to issue 15-year bond to clear $2.4 billion energy debt. This story is attributed to Bawumia. Government has announced plans to issue 15-year bond to settle all outstanding debts in the energy sector. The move is also aimed at improving financial strength of the state-owned enterprises. Vice President Dr. Bawumia disclosed this when he addressed a session at the ongoing spring meetings in Washington. If you read the story, Bawumia himself said this, that there is a $2.4 billion debt that is hanging over the neck of state-owned enterprises. What we are going to do is to issue a 15-year long-term bond to deal with the debt. Dr. Bawumia added, what we will do is that we will have one bond which will take off all those liabilities, and government will service those bonds, listen, with the ESLA revenues. Liar like you. Who introduced ESLA?
Alfred.
Who introduced ESLA? When Bawumia in April 2017 was saying, I will use ESLA that Mahama gave us. I will collateralize receipts from ESLA and use the money to pay the debt. So he issued this bond, extending the duration of ESLA, which they called nuisance tax and promised to scrap. They extended it, hypocrites, from 5 years to 15 years, took the $2.4 billion, they didn't pay the debt, and chopped the money. And you have the effrontery to talk about energy sector debt. Now let's go to the jobs figures. Alfred, Bawumia, this is his speech, 73 pages. He never said anywhere that the 2.1 million jobs he claims, those phantom jobs he claims to have created, are formal sector jobs. I dare him to show me that. It is not here. This is an afterthought. This is what is called post-facto rationalization of a lie. He never made mention of any of the fact that the 2.1 million jobs were formal sector jobs. Number two, let's even grant him that the 2.1 million jobs are formal sector jobs. The minister in September 2022 said the total number of jobs they have created are 5.3 million. Correct? You read the story. 16 September 2022. Deduct this 2.1 million so-called formal jobs from that. You will get 3.2 million informal jobs. Give us the breakdown of those 3.2 million informal jobs. Liars! Liars! Then he says that their jobs are formal sector snakes. Master, if a private person, Mr. Martin Kpebu, if your brother in the village goes for a loan or struggles to get some small capital to set up a business and goes to register his employees at SNIT as required by law, has government created jobs for his employees?
No.
No.
I said
the figure John Bawumia quoted.
Private.
He said that there's 2.1 million jobs. 900,000 of them, 900,000 of those jobs are SNIT.
No, I did.
Private people have created their jobs. What has that got to do with government? Now the unemployment figure, please, you gave him time to speak, Alfred. Your production, I want to appeal to them. Give me the same time.
I'm looking at
Don't
the time.
break
I'm
me.
looking
Give me
at
the
the
same
time.
time. We need to expose the lies.
I'm looking at
he
the time.
said that unemployment rate under us was 5 point something, and now it is lower. My brother, you people learn, do research before you come on shows, and stop making a mockery of yourself. Listen. When you were using derogatory remarks that I've lied, what did I say? Hold on. You are a liar, and I will tell you to your face that you are a liar. Hold on.
You are corrupt.
This is my source. The Ghana Living Standard Survey 7 at table 5.27. If you are watching me, Google it. Ghana Living Standard Survey 7, published in 2016 by the Ghana Statistical Service, table 5.27, unemployment rate was 8.4. Now, the 2021 population census, unemployment rate, 2021 population census, unemployment rate, 13.4%. He said that the Ghana Statistical Service has done an annual household employment statistics, and that the figure is 3 point something. I want to show you that is a liar. The latest publication from the Ghana Statistical Service on unemployment figures was published on 1st December 2023. 2023, 1st December. This is the title. Google it if you are watching me. Unemployment rate in 2022, 11.5%.
Right.
68.1% unemployed persons in vulnerable employment, GSS. Let me read the story to you, please.
Round it up on that.
They say,
Run it to,
how can I run up?
No.
You've given him time. Let me have my time.
Round it up on that. Yeah. Let me get that the
It
details
says
of that.
unemployment rate for the first 3 quarters of 2022 were 13.4%, 13.9%, and 13.7%, respectively. Okay. This is it. But reduced to 11.5% in quarter 4, according to data in the Ghana Annual Household Income and Expenditure Survey, quarter 4, 2022 Labor Statistics Report. There's a Star FM online story. Everybody can check. Alfred, again, he says that we left them a certain Eurobond debt that they came to pay. Really? All the Eurobonds we issued during our time. Kufuor was the first to take us to the Eurobond market. He collected $750 million.
This was in 2007.
Miles Mahama, $3.5 billion. Only you, $13 billion. And you have defaulted on your Eurobonds as well. You are not ashamed. You are talking about Eurobond. The different employment figures he quoted, let me clarify. That the Minister for Employment for this government himself has gone to Parliament and educated Parliament that the reason why the World Bank has different figures from the Ghana Statistical Service is because of the different definitions they use. And you can go and ask your minister to educate you. Again,
no, Sammy, I need to go for this quick break. When I'm back, we'll round it up. I need to go for this quick break.
Can I just have 2 minutes to conclude?
I'll be back shortly.
Can I have 2 minutes to conclude?
After this quick break, stay with us. This is Key Point. We'll be back shortly. It's 20 minutes each. Stay with us. Welcome back to the Key Point. We are live on 3FM 92.7, also on TV3 Ghana on Facebook, and DSTV channel 279 all across the world on 3news.com, and a number of radio stations across the country as well. Round up, and then Edward Karaway.
He peddled another lie.
Which is what exactly?
When they took office, the IMF has said that our economy was in a mess and so on. Alfred, you've done this work. I will continue to nominate you as my witness. Tell me if I'm lying. Was it not in 2016 that the IMF, the World Bank, the Economic and Intelligence Unit predicted that because of the solid investments John Mahama had done in the oil and gas sector, and the coming on stream of 2 new additional oil fields, the 10 Sankofa fields, the Ghana economy was going to grow by 8% in 2017 when they had not even taken office? So if the economy was in a mess, why were all these reputable agencies projecting growth of 8% in 2017?
This was contained in a report issued in May
Exactly. So the words of a liar.
But
if the economy was in a mess, how come that when they came, the IMF program we were under, which we started in 2015 and was supposed to end in 2018, why did they extend it for 1 more year? So they are lying. Everything I told you about the economy, we left them. Whether it is GDP growth, whether it is inflation, whether it is our credit rating, whether it is debt to GDP, whether it is unemployment rate, interest rate, everything is 10 times better than it is today. Then he talks about they spending 50 billion on financial sector. You've had in excess of 820 billion in total revenue. So if you have, assuming without admitting that you have even spent 50 billion on a self-inflicted problem which you yourself created because of your vindictiveness, the financial sector crisis, why should you blame anybody when you have had in excess of 820 billion? Then he says that, it is true that Bawumia said that John Mahama fixed Dumso in March. Look at the words of a liar, the inconsistencies. It is true, Bawumia said John Mahama fixed Dumso in March 2016. But by August 2016, Dumso came back. Who told you that? There was no Dumso in that August you are talking about. If today, ECG says they are shutting down for routine maintenance, and for a day or two, there are erratic power outages in some few places in the country, can you compare that to the Dumso we suffered in 2012, 2013, 2014, and so on? Can you compare that?
There was
so you lie.
Concern that the TUC raised. In fact, that's why.
You see, Alfred, because you have given me just 3 minutes, you let me finish. When I finish, you have all the time. You can make your intervention.
You have the next 30 seconds to round up.
I have told you that your own energy analyst, the Poku guy, their presidential aspirant, Kojo Poku, he said John Mahama is the one who solved Dumso. And who went to Parliament? They asked him, has your government added 1 megawatt to the generational capacity of Ghana? He said no. Mensa
Okay,
says,
all right.
Mahama solved the please.
Oh,
Let me
okay,
end.
okay,
Let me end
you-
on
you-
this
you-
note.
you
then
have
he
made
said
your
that
point because,
the World Bank has said, I will conclude in 1 minute. Alfred,
no,
let
in
me
30
end.
seconds.
He said the World Bank said we have signed power agreements that are unconscionable. Is that not what he said? If the agreements are unconscionable, how come they have extended car power? How come they extended Ameri?
And
How
added
come
800
they even
million.
said they were going to amend the Ameri agreement, which they claim was inflated, and ended up pardoning it, inflating it by
Okay. Thank you.
$850 million.
Sammy
You
Gyamfi,
remember
now,
that scandal? These guys are
Edward
thieves,
Karewa,
they are liars, they have no respect for Ghanaians, they have
Okay,
destroyed
thank
the
you.
economy,
Thank you.
and they still have the effrontery to come and
Me-
speak on television.
Thank you.
Alfred,
Mr. Karewa,
this-
Mr. Karewa,
this
now,
statement-
for you, TUC, there was a specific demand that you made, which now, because of the VAT on electricity, that's been suspended. You have also suspended
The tax
your...
has not been suspended.
Yes.
They said they
The
have
implementation of
suspended
it
the implementation
for
pending
engagement. So
consultations.
this
Another 419.
position, now, Mr. Karewa, TUC, you've suspended your nationwide demonstration as well. So what's the next step for you?
Well, let me say that it's a very difficult moment for the TUC, and it's a very difficult moment for Labour, and for that matter, Ghanaians. So the attempt by government to impose VAT on electricity consumption, in addition to the other taxes that have already been imposed on Ghanaians, have a big toll on us. As responsible citizens and as responsible organization, the organized labor has always tried to cooperate with government and then to give them a leeway to get over certain things. Now, the will not take place. The records or the directive was that the implementation will start in January. Now it means we don't know when the implementation will start. That's a relief for us for now. But then once they use the word suspension, it suggests to us that it will still come back, or it may come back, or they have not abandoned it entirely. In fact, that has fallen short of our demand that they should withdraw it completely. But government must know that at any point in time, they are given an opportunity to redress an obnoxious policy or a policy that is not sitting well with the people. They should not go back and take our leniency for granted. So if they attempt to bring in more taxes, if they attempt to continue with this VAT that they have suspended, certainly they will have the response from labor in a manner that they will not like it, and it will not be good for the entire economy.
I see. But you've been also called upon to look at engaging Parliament as well on this matter, because this act was passed and approved in Parliament as well.
Well, the acts are there unless it is a specific provision that imposes implementation. And if you don't comply with your duties, someone can go to court and say, look, this is in the act and you have not implemented it. This has been in the law for some time, and it has not been implemented, and no one has been held accountable for it. So it took us by surprise that it is then being implemented this time. For us, nothing has changed to warrant the implementation of it. For whatever reasons it was not implemented in the past, I think those reasons are more cogent today, not to implement the tax than to implement it. But if it is in our law and we think that it doesn't need to be there at all, then of course we can go back and remove it entirely. I don't think that we even need to do what? Consult with Parliament, because with Parliament by itself, and in particular this particular tax law, it has not been the initiation of Parliament. So the executive must go back So we don't even need to go to Parliament. And they must demonstrate that immediately, that, look, they want to stand by their word, that they have suspended it, and then to go get back to Parliament and say that we are removing it entirely from it. That would be more assuring than anybody suggesting to us that we should go to Parliament. We have no business with Parliament on this matter, and I believe Parliament itself will sit there and wait until someone has come to them to review the act.
Okay, so that's going to be the next phase for you going forward. Thank you very much. No, my time is up. My time is up. My time is up. Unfortunately, when you had 20 minutes, he also had 20 minutes. It's responded. Kpebu has actually ceded his time. Sammy Gyamfi, thank you.
Said that when we were leaving, there was doomsday. You lied. The direct quotation
Akbar,
here.
Yusuf.
said this in our energy sector policy. It was expected that by the end
Professor
of
Kobi-Mensah, we
2016,
couldn't take him.
we would have ended this well.
Alfred, this is
And that
not
when
fair.
we're leaving, we have dealt with generation capacity. There was no
Thank you,
need.
gentlemen.
Stop lying.
Gentlemen, thank you. Kpebu, thank you. Your microphones are off. Your microphones are off. Thank you very much.